The help wasn't helping. No Kyrie, no Love, and clearly that was the problem. A roster extremely thin. You guys have talked about that over and over again. Some believe the finals will have a what-if feel to it. So here's the question, and discussing his legacy. And Skip, I'll start with you first. How much of a pass do you give LeBron?
There are two questions here. How much of a pass will he be given, and how much will I give him? I stand by what
about you.
I know, but I stand by what I said to you yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron James has already been given the all-time pass for this finals. Period. End of story. His legend has grown, losing a finals 4-2. I don't care how you slice it. It has grown. People's respect for him has risen, even though his team lost 4-2. Period. End of that story. Now, back to me. I was watching you on SportsCenter last night with my friend Michael Wilbon, and you asked him a very profound question that sort of stopped him in his tracks for just a second about, do you feel more elation for Golden State, or do you feel sorry for LeBron? Remember that?
Yes.
And I'm not sure what your answer was, but he answered, and I think he was leaning more toward feeling sorry for LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go that far. I can't find sorry in my heart for LeBron. I don't want to be too hard on him because clearly, do I have to state it again, just for the record, he lost Kevin Love and he lost Kyrie Irving in overtime of Game 1. And he did have to win in spite of a first-year head coach, and we're going to discuss this later. I don't think we'll be back next year, but that's for later, David Blatt. So given all that, I can't be too hard on him, but I can't give him a pass. Because nobody was giving LeBron James a pass when his team was up, thanks to him, 2-1 with a home Game 4 in his house against a team that felt like it was reeling at that point, the Golden State Warriors. If not for the lineup change by Steve Kerr, and then they tried to send a second defender at LeBron that night, boy, we might have had a whole different conversation. And again, I was as deflated by Game 4 as I was by last night's Game 6. I fully expected LeBron to come out in Game 4 and say, it is over, baby, because he could have virtually closed the deal that night. No team has ever come back in an NBA Finals from 3-1 down. Would you agree if they had gone up 3-1, could they have closed it?
They would have closed it.
I think they would have closed the deal. And again, I'm being tough on him, but I'm just being honest with you. I'm trying to be objective. That was a 6-point game. Golden State up 6 going to the fourth quarter, and you said LeBron just flat out ran out of gas. Whether it's mental or physical gas, you said he was spent. He took only 2 shots in that fourth quarter and missed both of them. He scored 0 points in a fourth quarter of a game that could have changed NBA history, could have changed his legacy, because we would all be saying this is the greatest achievement in LeBron James' career. And I'm going to hark back to Game 1 at Oracle. It seems like it was months ago. LeBron James had the basketball in his hands and took again, I wanted him to attack the basket, but he pulled up and took that jump shot. It was a good look. And it left his hand pretty well, and it had a chance for a second. I thought it might go. If that ball falls, we are having such a different conversation right now because, again, we don't know what would happen to Kyrie. Maybe he gets hurt in Game 2 or Game 3. But remember, he got hurt because that game went to overtime. Then they, of course, lost that game. They fell flat in overtime. Then they came back and won Game 2 in overtime, thanks in large part to Delly and the 2 free throws he made. And what did LeBron volunteer after that game? I have a secret motivation that I'll share with you if and when we win this NBA championship. LeBron was pretty confident that night, I got to tell you. And I think he was very confident after they came home and won a Game 3 to go up 2-1. You've got a game in your house. I'm sorry, I can't feel sorry for you when you're in a commanding position as the best player on the planet with a home game against a team full of people who had never been on this stage before like this. And I think they were choking a little bit, the Golden State Warriors. And again, God bless them, congratulate them, because they bounced back. The coach made the right adjustments, and Steph Curry started making shots, and Iggy started playing some serious defense on LeBron James. But my point is, I can't give him a pass when he was in position to pull off the greatest achievement of his career.
I'm not going to condemn you for taking the position that you take, because there's validity to it. There are people out there who will. There are people out there, particularly analysts, who would sit there and say anybody who doesn't have compassion for LeBron. I had one analyst tell me last night, anybody who doesn't have compassion for LeBron after this doesn't have a soul, because they felt that bad for him. I'm not going to go that far. And I'm not...
Trust me, I do have a soul.
No, well, you know, I know that.
Thank you.
Come on now. But what I'm saying to you is that I'm not going to go that far, and I'm not going to completely disagree with you. What I'm going to do, however, is attach, for lack of a better word, a little humanity to it.
Okay. That's fair.
All of these things that you point out about LeBron, the jump shot, the choice of a jump shot in Game 1. Okay, I thought he was fouled in Game 2.
You did? But they won that game.
Fatigued in Game 4.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all of this other stuff, you know. All of that factors into the equation. But, Skip, what we have to do is look at it from the standpoint that when we talk about life, you're talking about not just the game itself, but sometimes the game within the game. We have literally debated and speculated as to LeBron James not only being the best player in the world, but we've also talked about how he's the de facto coach, the GM. You got Northeast Ohio, the city of Cleveland, the expectations. You've got all the things that he had to deal with all year long. And then you get to the playoffs and you go through Boston, in the last game in Boston, a closeout game from sweeping them, you lose Kevin Love. And then Kyrie Irving is hurting against Chicago. Okay, he's working through it, but he's struggling. And Dellavedova comes up big for you, and you make a big time shot from the left corner and all of that stuff, and that helped. But Kyrie Irving is ailing to the point where you're wondering whether or not he should rest against Atlanta, because even though they were the best team in the Eastern Conference record-wise, nobody anticipated that they would beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. Then the Eastern Conference Finals come, and then you play Game 1 with Kyrie. Kyrie's knees and his right foot and left knee are hurt so bad that he has to sit out Games 2 and 3, and there's debate because internally you've got the players and the staff wanting him to play, because when he's out, it puts more of the burden on LeBron James, and you're wearing the big fella down, you know, for his imminent, you know, confrontation in the finals, and you know he's going to be required to do a lot. But then on the personal side for Kyrie, you got his daddy, his agent, and everybody else not wanting him to play. And so there's friction that's going on there. Kyrie ultimately cuts it down the middle because he doesn't play Games 2 and 3, but he comes back for that Game 4, that closeout game, Atlanta. They blow them out by 30. They advance to the NBA Finals. You rest 9 days. It's believed that Kyrie Irving is at least 65 to 70%, and he'll be able to go. And before Game 1 is over, David Blatt decides to play this man 43 minutes and 37 seconds. Ultimately, he incurs a cracked patella. He's gone. And as a result, now you've got to deal with that. So if we look at the totality of what LeBron James had to stomach and had to deal with and had to endure and had to try to overcome all year long, is it beyond the realm of comprehension that you just maxed out and you just reached the limit and you simply had but so much left to give? Last night, he was spent again, just like he was in Game 4. He still finished with 32, 18, and 9. They still had a lead in the second half. They were still there. And every time he turned around and needed, because this is a guard league now. This is not the old days with the Detroit Pistons, the bad boys, or the New York Knicks with Anthony Mason, God rest his soul, and Charles Oakley and Patrick Ewing and John Starks and Derek Harper and those boys. This is the modern day NBA. This is a guard-oriented league. And your guards did not show up. Skip, none of them, J.R., Iman, Dellavedova, do you know they didn't hit one three-pointer without LeBron James on the floor the entire 6-game series? They didn't do anything. They were like 0 for 20-something. I mean, they were horrible. And so when you look at it from that perspective, all I'm saying is it's not beyond the realm of comprehension to imagine that this guy just reached his limit. And he was a guy that needed help, and he couldn't find it. And that's where the compassion comes in. So you're right in what you're saying. if you look at the game and you look at, okay, you can't give him a pass. But I would tend to give him more of a pass than you, while not sitting there feeling completely sorry for him.
Yep.
I would give him more of a pass than you based on everything I just said.
Okay, remember, just quick point of order. Last night, LeBron went 2 of 10 from the three-point line.
That's right.
And for the playoffs, his non-LeBron teammates carried him from the three-point line until these finals. For the playoffs, LeBron wound up, for players attempting 100 or more in a playoff run, worst three-point percentage ever in the history of the playoffs. Well, so I still look back at what happened. Were there any silver linings to losing Kyrie and obviously losing Kevin Love? Tristan Thompson emerged as a force in these playoffs, defensively and on the backboards, especially the offensive glass.
Okay.
And I thought Dellavedova emerged as someone who could play Steph for a while. For the first 3 games and 3 quarters of this series, I thought this Cleveland team gave Golden State's offense fits. They became a tougher defensive team than Golden State is, and Golden State was the best defensive team in efficiency through the year.
They held them to 6 for 22 shooting in the second quarter last night.
Yeah.
And Dellavedova is a quality reserve because he can really, really defend.
He can.
But offensively, they had nothing.
They had nothing. Okay? So in the big picture, they got to a point where it was time for the king to be the king. And in your mind, because there was so little depth, and he had to play such high minutes that we kept vacillating between, he's superhuman, no, he's human. He's superhuman, no, he's human. And you finally conclude that he's human, right?
Well, not just that. I expected this performance in Game 7, not Game 6.
Right.
Yeah.
On his home court,
Yeah.
in front of the hometown fans. I didn't expect that. I expected better from LeBron, but I also saw, the fact that I saw what I saw so early is what saddened me. It was like, you just looked at guys and you saw him looking around for, is anybody showing up with me tonight? Are you guys going to show up with me tonight?
And they might have been looking back at him saying, are you going to show up with us tonight?
Well, I don't think so, because I think they know that LeBron's going to show up at some point. He's never going to have just an all-around awful game. LeBron is too gifted. There's somehow, some way, he's going to contribute to winning. The difference is that some guy, like, for example, Kobe Bryant would have came out there gunning. Michael Jordan would have came out there in complete attack mode. Larry Bird would have came out there in complete attack mode. That's the difference. If you want to really, really highlight it, guys would have been more aggressive and more assertive, and their mentality would have been, I'm going down swinging.
Yep.
As opposed to use a boxing analogy. Y'all too young to know about this, but when Aaron Pryor beat up Alexis Aguero the second time around, not the first, Aguero's literally sat on his backside, Kerry. Literally sat on his backside, and the referee was counting to 10. He was like, yeah,
go ahead.
Like, I can't beat this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He wasn't even knocked out.
Yeah.
He was just like, I can't beat this guy.
I'm count.
I have no, just go ahead and count to 10.
All right,
I was there that night.
You were?
Yes.
You were? Okay.
Okay, final thought.
Didn't he do that, though? Alexis Aguero just looked at the referee?
You nailed it. You got it. Last quick thought. For the finals, the 6 games, LeBron James averaged 20 missed shots for 6 games. That's the second most all-time average misses in a final to my friend Rick Barry, the Golden State Warrior of distant past, and that was in 1967. I have zero problem that LeBron missed 20 shots a game. He actually apologized for it after the game last night, saying, I never was comfortable doing that. It was the only way to keep them in the game because he had to be most of the offense. So just for the record, I'm fine with the 20 misses a game because it kept him afloat, especially for those first 4 games.
All right, the series changed when he was inserted into the starting lineup. We're talking about the finals MVP, Andre Iguodala. The gentlemen discuss it after the break. First take on the road.